United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, take the roll, please.
Mayor?
Here.
Benefield? Brooks?
Here.
Frizalone?
Here.
Gould?
Here.
Hart? Here. O'Gallo? Parker? Here. Staley Ferry? Here. Tumanello?
Here.
Weigel?
Here.
Winfrey? Here. And Houston?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, next we have the minutes from the committee of the whole from July 13th.
Second.
Second, any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor?
Did you mean the minutes for July 13th and the next one?
13th, I said, yeah.
But
13th.
you got two different, make sure.
One's executive session.
Okay.
We will do that one next, right? Anything else?
Make sure that you got the, I
Anything
thought you
else
said
want to say?
executive. Yeah.
Executive committee, executive committee. So listen.
I haven't.
Okay.
To you yet.
Next, we have the minutes from the committee of the whole executive session minutes from July 13th. Second. Any additions or corrections?
None.
Okay, Chuck?
Move on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, is there any other old business to bring forward today? Okay, under new business, authorizing the county executive to bind coverage and execute contracts with designated carriers for the renewal of the Will County Comprehensive Fleet Benefits Plan. It's our renewal time.
Sure is.
So, morning.
So I have our consultants and partners from AMP that have been working with us both on the renewal and on our negotiations with ASME. Yeah, so we have some handouts.
Push the stars on both.
So we have some handouts that you probably have on your iPad, but we'll hand out the paper copies. Okay.
I didn't bring my
This what this is? Okay.
Come on. It's like those.
No, that's fine.
So this actually covers both numbers 1 and 2. It's the renewal and premiums and COBRA rates. But we'll go through briefly the renewal report. And keep in mind that this renewal is based upon our plan as it exists today, because we have to set those rates. We have to be ready for open enrollment, and it's coming up soon. And whatever happens with our negotiations, then that will all be updated as well. So what we're doing here is presenting the renewal based on the current plan. And I'll turn it over to Stephanie from AMP to start it out.
Thank you for having us today. So I know you have a lot of stuff to go through, so we'll try to get through this pretty quickly. If you turn to page 2, just go through this. We'll talk about your overall health program renewal for 2018. As we said, it's been status quo, so no change to design and no change to employer subsidy or employee contribution subsidy. Then we'll talk about your continued wellness program and the costs associated with that and the participation, which is very favorable. And then we'll touch upon the excise tax that's associated with the Affordable Care Act. And then we'll wrap up. All right. I think all in all, what you'll see, and Brian will walk through the numbers as our actuary, is that overall your projected increase for 2018 on a gross basis is about 6.3%. When we compare that to what medical inflation is currently, it's running around 8 to 9%, and we'll get into all those numbers. I'm going to pass over to Brian to walk through that. Page 3.
Okay, so, jump to page 4.
Page 4.
Okay, so as Stephanie said, so overall we're projecting an increase in the medical and for the active and retired population of 6.3%, which is less than trend. So if we were seeing national trends around the 8 to 9% range. So that amounts to about $2.4 million in projected additional costs for 2018, and this is on a status quo basis. The active population alone, we're projecting about a 6.5% increase, which is about $2.1 million. The PPO plan, we're projecting that to increase about 3.8%. And the HMO plan, which is running a little bit higher, we're projecting about a 14.3% increase. For the retired medical plan, we're projecting 4.7% increase, which roughly is about $240,000 in projected annual cost in 2018. So that's about, for the PPO and the RX only, what is Pro 65 plan, that's about a 1.2% increase. And on the HMO plan, that's about a 25% increase we're projecting. On the dental and the vision plans, those plans are actually running well, so we're actually projecting just under 2% decrease, which is roughly $40,000 in annual cost. The employees, for the active employees, we're projecting about a 1.9% decrease. The retirees is actually going up. For the dental plan, that's about just under 6%. And the vision as a whole, we're projecting a decrease of 6.5%. Now the ASO fees for the vision plan is still under rate guarantee from the end of 2019, and the life and disability is under rate guarantee through the end of next year, 2018. So no changes there.
Why is there a decrease with the vision? Is that less people?
The plan is actually running well, so it's improving.
Oh, I see.
Okay, I want a follow-up question on vision here. I've had some complaints and have actually used the Davis system. How do we get that group and the providers that go along with them? Because I've not had great experience, and I've had other complaints about that. So how did Davis get chosen, and why are we continuing with them rather than taking a look at other options?
Well, we have a rate guarantee with them through 2019. Davis has been the county's vision provider for probably 10 years.
I understood.
Yeah, and we've used other providers in the past, VSP and
Can I say, I do think there's a problem.
Okay.
I've had people call me, and I can tell you that I've had personal experience, and it's with the providers.
Okay.
And literally, not knowing what it is, wanting to charge for exams, and then you almost have to catch them. You have to say, well, and then not even really knowing what the benefit is. So I think there's a real problem within the provider network. One, for example, says, well, where are the Davis Vision with? It's all we learn in the back room. I mean, I will tell you, I think there is, Davis Vision needs to either re-educate, recertify. They need to do something with their provider network, because it is, I think, pretty bad. It's almost like they're scamming it. It's like, well, if you can catch me, did you get that? Oh, okay. Otherwise, they're not getting it.
And that's on the provider side. I appreciate you.
Provider side.
Yeah.
It's, I say that. I think the program's a good program, but I would rather be more selective, or if they're getting so many complaints, and Bruce offline, I can tell you some of the
I'd like to,
providers.
Absolutely.
So I do think there's a problem with the network that Davis needs to take care of.
And we can address that,
At least,
because they're very responsive.
Yes. And in some cases, if they have, optometrists or whatever who do not want to participate or aren't doing it right, then I'd rather have a smaller network that does it right.
I agree, and if anybody runs into any issues like you're talking about, please bring them to my attention. Don't wait, because we can certainly get those providers educated. I know that there is a larger provider locally that just pulled out of the Davis network, and that has caused some heartburn for a few of our employees, because they're a pretty good provider. But then they signed on a couple other larger providers, so it's a matter of education. And again, on the provider side, getting them re-educated on it, because you know, they've signed these contracts to abide by what these benefits are. So, you know, like I said, if they'll catch me if you can, you know, that's not gonna work.
And I see we do have this guaranteed rate until 19
Yes.
for vision, so, which is pretty nice, that we have a guaranteed rate. I do think we need a little work in that.
We will certainly address that, and I'll talk with you offline.
And I would also suggest that maybe one of the things we might want to do is interview some of the folks in the network to find out what's going, not just put it on, you know, that they're the problems, but what's going on with Davis and their relationship. And I think having some little survey of what's going on within the network, because, you know, I've had complaints from people that are in their network, you know, the providers going, well, they're kind of a hassle to deal with. And so what is that hassle? You know, is it just $1? You know, what's going on? And I think it would be good for us to find out this. And we have 2 years at this guaranteed rate that I think a little bit of research would not hurt.
And we certainly can do that.
To give a little history, we at one point felt the network wasn't large enough. We asked them to expand the network.
Yes.
And perhaps we need to review participants in that network.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
So page 6, just a quick review of kind of the underlying data that goes into our projections. We typically use 24 months. We're using the most recent 24 months, which is through the end of June. And so we're basing it off of July 2015 through June of 2017. We give the most recent 12 months a greater weighting, roughly just under 70%. We extract large claims because that's covered under the stop loss. And so on the PPO side, there was actually 6 large claims that exceeded the 200K stop loss. And on the HMO side, there was 10 large claims that exceeded the 100K stop loss. Once we make that adjustment, we notice that the year-over-year increase on the PPO side was about 1.6%, and on the HMO side was 7.2%. We then apply what we call trend, which is just your healthcare inflation. So all else equal, we expect your costs to go up in the future, and costs are going up. And so based off of our internal Aon guidelines and your plan designs, we're using an assumption of 7% on the PPO for medical and 12% on the RX. We continue to see high RX trends, particularly because of the increased utilization in specialty drugs. And we're also seeing medical trends, which typically were mitigating those high RX trends. We also see medical trends now on the uptick, primarily because of an improved economy off of the recession. On the HMO side, we're assuming about 5.2% on the medical, and similarly 12.2% on the RX, and 4% for dental and vision. ACA fees, the transitional reinsurance, as you know, that does not charge 2017 and beyond, so that's gone away. We do account for the quarry fee. The 2018 fee has not actually formally been published, but we're making an assumption of $2.30 per member per year. They do say that it will be the 2017 fee plus a factor of inflation, so we're building an assumption into there. And we do include a 2.5% margin.
Can I ask?
Yes.
What is the Corey fee? What is that? What is it?
So
It's
What was the question, Drew?
Corey fee.
What is the
That's what
Corey
Corey-
fee?
It's Patient-Centered Outcome Research Institute fee. Basically, it's a fee that's associated with the Affordable Care Act, where they invest those dollars in different research nationally for enhanced clinical and medical programs within hospitals.
Okay, thank you.
And we pay that annually in July.
And all employers.
Every employer that offers a health plan.
None of those hidden costs. Can I ask you a question in relation to medical and RX? So overall, what would you say percentage-wise of our plan is medical, how much is RX? I know the RX continues to increase. So I mean, is it the RX 30% of the overall cost of the plan, of medical 70? I mean, you can give me even an industry number.
Industry is usually 80-20. It's 80 medical, 20 pharmacy. You
But
don't have your head
but that's trending.
So the 20% is trending.
Higher.
Yes, yeah. primarily driven by specialty meds that are coming on the market from various manufacturers.
So we're looking at about another 2.3 million in increased cost. But to do that, Mr. Finance Chairman, budget people, we're talking about 2.3 million. And our total revenue increase in real estate is going to be about the same number. Won't even be. So we need to continue to do some work. Continue.
Okay, so on page 7 is just a summary of the fixed fees that are associated with administering the plan. And so these are the fees that are charged by vendors of the plan. For the medical, and RX, it's Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's dental as well. Vision is Davis Vision, and life and disability is Dearborn National. So overall, on the PPO side, the renewals actually came in favorable. So we're seeing a 6.9% decrease in the PPO fixed fees for 2018 and a 4.6% decrease on the HMO for 2018. The dental remained flat for 2018, and the vision and life and disability is still under rate guarantees, and what changes for 2018.
Can you talk briefly about the RX rebates and how we've got such a large increase in our rebates?
Yes, that's primarily, so Blue Cross partners with Prime, and they're primarily increasing they're improving their pricing with the providers, and so that's resulting in better rebates. We also see an increase in specialty drugs. That's also what's contributing to the higher rebates.
And I would say in general, Prime Therapeutics, being Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois' PBM partner, they're feeling market pressures because many employers are investigating the avenue of going direct to a pharmacy benefit manager like Express Scripts or CVS, Optum. And typically going direct, there's more transparency to employers and enhanced pricing, and especially that comes through within rebates. And so Prime is feeling that market pressure. So we are seeing, all in all, because Blue Cross doesn't want to lose that relationship with you or with any of their clients, better enhanced pricing directly with Prime.
Well, and Prime has created a new company with Walgreens as well.
Right, that's what I was just going to ask.
Well, I was going to bring this up, the knowledge you have, and that is exploring more direct relationships in the RX world. I still think we should explore options, by the way, going forward. So if there is other viable options, because part of it is you can provide a lot of service to folks without necessarily having huge networks or maybe having more direct relationships. Maybe a slight inconvenience for people, but I think given the option whether they want to pay more premium, if they want to pay more cost, or if you want to have a more direct relationship with maybe a little less choice, they may opt for a little less cost. So as we continue to raise this pretty significantly to our employees,
Yes.
or people who are participants in the program, I mean, it wasn't many years ago, they never paid over $10. Now they're routine to pay $25, 50% of the cost on certain drugs. So that also concerns me a little bit. That, so we need to contain those costs. And if there's ways of doing other relationships, there's all alternatives we look at, we should.
Right, and so Prime is also, and our plan is also instituted certain other programs within the pharmacy benefit of step therapy, of prior authorizations, of dispensing limits on some of these high-cost abusive drugs, things like that. So it's not like you can just, your doctor writes and you go get it filled.
No, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they do. They're on you. So I've experienced it myself.
Did they square away the glitches they were having in the transition?
Yes. Yes, they did. Yeah, initially there was an issue because their fully insured plans did not allow their members to go to CVS pharmacy. They had to go to Walgreens. So at the beginning of the year this year, there was a big glitch in CVS saying, well, we can't accept Blue Cross anymore. So fine, I mean, I knew better, so I talked to the pharmacist. I said, you better call your corporate headquarters because we're a ASO only, and we definitely confusion with the farms. And so I know locally that got squared away with CVS. I don't know what happened nationally.
Well, they were also having problems switching over in the mail, switching over prescriptions from one company to
Yes,
the other.
exactly.
They got all messed up.
Yeah.
I had an easy transition.
And also, I wanted to let the committee know that early in the year, we made it clear to Blue Cross that we are certainly looking at other PBMs. And I think some of that, some of our renewal pricing is reflective of knowing that we're actually looking at the market for PBMs. So you'll see our stop losses, well, our HMO didn't increase at all, which is unbelievable. Capitations actually went down, I've never heard of. And the PPO stop loss only increased 5%. Like we said before, there were 10 HMO claims that exceeded stop loss and 6 PPO claims that exceeded 200,000. So I think that's reflected in the renewal overall.
You know, it's what, you know, we've had an exceptional year, I think. But even having exceptional, having everything going your way, it's still 2.3 million acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this thing, if it wasn't,
Exactly.
yeah, so point that out. Good, I'm sorry, continue.
Okay, so on page 8, so we have a summary of the actual budget numbers that we're projecting for 2018. So you'll see combined your medical, dental, and vision, we're projecting about 4.2 million, which is about 5.8% increase. That's the 2.3 million there. The total medical cost, which is about 4.4 million. The dental alone is 1.7 we're projecting for 2018, and the vision is about 250,000 for 2018. The next couple of pages we won't necessarily go through, but we typically just include this. This is, you know, just a high level how we develop the costs. And from pages 11 through to page 17, we have the actual rates that we're projecting, the premium equivalent rates that we're projecting for 2018 and the employee contributions.
So these are the pieces that are numbered 2 on your agenda.
Right, so the projections are still a good budgetary tool for us.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So you won't necessarily go through the actual rates unless you have specific questions.
I say the rates are actuarially calculated.
These are monthly.
It's like 14 and 15 actually denote the employee contribution.
And we're still projecting it at 10% aggregate contribution overall for employees right now.
Yeah, which we've fallen short on. Have we gotten to 10% aggregate? I thought we were around 8.
No, I think it's probably around.
It is 10%.
It is 10%. All right. Okay.
There's still 2 groups that are on a basic salary.
We have our FOP and MAP units still go 3% and 4% of base pay for single and family. We're in negotiations with them.
That's probably why we got 10%. Worked out for us, I guess. Wellness program?
Yes, so if there aren't any other questions on that. So as you know, on slide 19, this is just a quick overview. The county will offers a very robust wellness program, very competitive in the market. So there's different, partner with Wellvation, there's biometric screenings offered, a health assessment, and various activities throughout the year to earn points and to earn cash incentives. There's a premium reduction associated with all of that as a total there. All in all, I think the message here is that the plan hasn't changed. The design of the plan hasn't changed year over year. The participation has stayed very high at 91%. That's very similar to last year, so that's really great, and that's higher than on average what we see in the market in general. I would also say that the other point that we took away when we looked at some of the information that came out of the results of the biometric screening data and the health risk assessments, which is, I think, key to why you're offering it, or one of the key elements of why you're offering it, is that the overall risk factors associated with your population, even though it's aging, has stayed constant overall. So I think a good example of that is if you look on slide 23, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but you can see on average, when you look at different indicators within your population, whether it's blood pressure or cholesterol or BMI, that all in all, on average, it stays relatively constant. And that is really what we want to see. It's very difficult to reduce that significantly, but to even stabilize it is a big metric when offering a wellness program. Slide 24 actually talks about what you're spending and what we're projected to spend in 2018 from a wellness perspective. So for on the right-hand side, talks about the aggregate gross costs, and there's various components of the fees, and based on participation for the on-site screenings, the biometric screenings, the wellness assessment, what you're paying out in gift cards, and the list goes on. All in, we projected the plan cost to be about $562,000 on page 24. But because of the surcharges associated with people that don't participate in the wellness program, the plan's actually projected to make $225,000 off those people that choose not to participate, for a net spend of about $337,000.
Money well spent.
It sure is.
Question. Blue Cross Blue Shield is pretty much in everybody's world, not only in the county, different school districts and stuff. If folks are in multiple areas and plans, and they're required to get a wellness check in each group, is there no way to have because I would say it'd be a cost saving if you get it one place and you pass that information over even within Blue Cross Blue Shield. There would be, because, I mean, you can go in and have paperwork filled out, I understand that.
Right.
But, and submit that. And that, and we've had this conversation a couple of years ago, and I think that's where some of it came from.
Sure.
Is there no way to even work with Blue Cross Blue Shield on their database?
Well, we don't use Blue Cross Blue Shield as our wellness provider.
Right.
So, and a lot of people don't. Some do, or some use a piece of their wellness program. Our wellness program is through Elevation.
Right.
So it's not through Blue Cross. However, we tap into some of Blue Cross's added extra, like blue benefits, things like that, for discounts on fitness centers and things like that. But the plan itself doesn't go through Blue Cross.
The information never gets there. It's not part of their record keeping at all. Okay.
I have one other comment I'd like to make. Very often if you have high blood pressure, type 2 diabetic, you have cholesterol, you're seeing the doctor. I see the doctor every 3 months. I get my labs done every 3 months. But it's not unusual to have labs done twice a year and so forth. Don't we have an interest in maybe recapturing some of that data?
Well, the ongoing
Ongoing.
data, I'm not sure. I mean,
it's only
we
benefit.
capture it once a year, but you're capturing
I'm saying,
it.
should we see how they're progressing? If somebody continues to individually not get better or get worse, let's say they continue to get worse, status quo would probably be okay, but if it continues to get worse, don't you think if we did it every twice a year, not, you just have your doctor send it, not make it a requirement.
Right. Voluntary, so you can
kind of
track
voluntary.
personally.
So, just a mechanism maybe to send that data in, and if somebody's not getting better, they give you those little messages, send you something, saying, hey, quit eating the ice cream for a day or something.
What's the plate away?
Do you think it'd be worthwhile, or would it be too stigma? Is the cost benefit just not there? I'm just curious. Why?
So are you speaking of just your preventative checkups, or?
Well, because
They're follow-ups.
Follow-up lab work.
It's basically follow-ups, so we're doing our biometrics. Everything that's done is biometric. I have done 4 times a year, plus the biometric. And they can fluctuate, and it lets me know that, hey, I'm not being so good the last couple of months, so I better, tighten it up a little bit. I'm just curious, so when people are doing the labs anyway, it would seem to me that it would make sense if there's a way of recapturing it and sending the data in.
I don't know if we can de-identify that information because we, as HR, don't even see the detail of individuals and reports. So doing something like that may increase.
Sure, I'm saying, have you followed up with your doctor? You're having your biometric done once a year. If you're not doing anything, you're not doing a follow-up, say 6 months later, see how you're doing.
And that we can look into. So we can look into having our vendor actually look at the identified information and then highlight or flag individuals that may have been pretty high on their numbers.
Didn't need a follow-up.
And absolutely, send a letter, postcard, or
And Blue
something.
Cross does that to some extent as well. If they, I'll give an example, if they identify someone that might have
They do it.
diabetes,
They do it.
and they're not taking a prescription, so I mean, they do that to some extent, but I think wellness vendors in general can do what you're asking. It's a matter of what the cost is associated with that follow-up and just making sure it's identified to the employer, but that they would handle that communication. You would have to improve the general template of communication and how that style would move forward with members, but vendors in general can do that.
And I think we continue to remind someone, or they realize, hey, this is, they may be even doing some, especially doing additional follow-ups. You might think you're doing everything right. You might think, oh, I changed my diet enough. I'm exercising enough. But when you get the results, it's like, oh, I'm not improving. Or actually ticked up a little bit.
A little encouragement throughout the year is not going to hurt.
And Blue Cross Blue Shield does.
I think you're talking about me, though. But Jim, I did want to throw in, Bruce, they do tell you at the time of the test if there are some problems.
Yes, they sit down and talk.
They sit down and talk to you, because I had to go over to a little corner in the desk one day, the desk in the corner, and talk to a guy one day. I was like, this is not good. So, now I agree with you, we don't get the reminders, but at the inception of the viral test, they do tell you.
And they do track individuals year over year, so the longer that we're in this program, you personally can see your health report as it trends over the years. If you use the report, there's actions.
Okay.
So certainly we can do some more things.
We'll move on to, I'm sorry, we're just looking at how to encourage be even healthier. Okay. So.
And why don't you call Jim once a week?
I'm good. It depends on what day you call me. I wasn't so good the other day.
Do you guys already send out information about activities and things that are going on that relate to different health things at the county? I wonder if maybe using more targeting emails like that, as we take a look at seeing how the dynamics play out here.
And we do. So we look at the trend of the group overall, and actually obesity is our worst score, overweight. So we look at things like that, and then we can start targeting some of the.
Don't look at me.
Not only the activities, but I'm saying maybe a little bit more direct email or contact to those people going, hey, did you see this?
Yeah.
Because email is not a perfect communicator.
No, it's not.
And so maybe there is a way that, kind of play off what my colleagues are saying here. We need to get Herb on the treadmill a little more and have him eat his fruit. So we could bring him in for a luncheon of bananas and that work?
The thing is, it's not like a good demonstration, have a chef come in and show you how to prepare things or whatever. And I see we have done some of those types of things. I might also point out, and I know Ray might have a question, but I want to point out, I get more wellness information and communication from Blue Cross Blue Shield than I do from the wellness program. Oh, by far, a long shot. They send me things weekly, as long as you sign up for them. If you ask,
Now, are you talking about paper mail or email?
no emails.
Okay.
They even send me reminders to take my medications every day.
Oh, yeah, you sign up for all those things.
So if you sign up for them, I'm probably getting more from Blue Cross Blue Shield in the way of wellness diaphragm on the pearl.
Mike and I get daily invites to Weight Watchers, but my question is, the tax that was supposed to be implemented on the insurance, I know it was delayed, so the numbers are not indicative of having an excise tax included.
Correct, and there's a couple slides in the back that talks about that.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to Weitzman disability.
There's no changes actually on those.
Okay, any questions on those? Okay, any questions on, we already did the excise tax kind of question. Anything on dental questions? Any questions on, we went through the division? So,
Just one general question.
Yes, go ahead.
Why these significant increase of roughly 25% on the HMOs versus the
Well, the retirees as a group are rated separately than the active employees, so it's based upon actual experience. So,
but everybody should understand that we are self-insured. This is our pot of money.
right.
So, it's not like we're paying a premium, per se. We pay the claims. It's administrative costs, so when the claims go up, we project costs to go up, especially if we've already identified some long-term or high value, which we really can't predict, but we predict a certain amount will happen every year. It's really based there on our experience.
And I can tell you one of those HMO charges that exceeded the stop loss was the total claims that were paid were over $900,000. It was a premium baby.
So you know when you have those, your stop loss insurance goes up too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so but even though we can predict how many will be over a 10-year period, so it's just we can't tell you what year they're going to be in, right? So, any other questions? Okay, so then everybody's happy with this. Bruce, before you go though, go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, there's two resolutions.
Okay. The other thing I want to bring up while Bruce is here, we did ask Bruce to prepare an RFQ and go out to the market to look at vendors to do our insurance programs.
For risk management.
For risk management. And we didn't get very, which is not paid. It's Mesro, But I told Bruce I'd bring this up. We only had one response outside of our current carrier. Now you may think it really has not, that's always had anything to do with Will County. Over the years I've learned one thing, underwriters get in and out of the public sector. There was a time we couldn't find anybody underwriting insurance for, we actually went without any liability insurance for a period of time because we couldn't find a vendor.
I can tell you that Aon declined to bid. They used to be our vendor.
Yeah.
But they declined to bid this time because they felt that they could not be competitive and service us.
Yeah. So here's why I'm bringing it up. We'll continue with our current vendor, and we'll put something together next year. We don't have time to put another thing together anyway. And
it's too soon. I mean, if they're not in the market, they're not in the market.
So Mary, I'm going to ask you, do we need to take any action? We did accept the two proposals. I don't know if Bruce analyzed them or not, but because we didn't have what I would think would be a competitive situation, that we would not accept either, and we would go back out next year to see if the market has changed and more firms are in the public sector.
You mean to reject all the bids and just not,
right.
Or usually we do get a motion and.
So these are, it's not a bid.
These are RFQs for professional services.
So that's why I'm asking, it is a professional service. We didn't feel we had a significant response. Do you think we still need to do a resolution?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. All right. So I'm just making this committee, the insurance and personnel committee, in effect, that we're not going to go forward this year. We'll go up next year. MBA, I don't think they won't be competitive next year.
Different underwriters.
Yes. So, okay, anything else, Bruce?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Judy?
So I just want to, looking at that excise tax calculation, I think that we're hoping that they do make some changes in Congress, because that is huge, huge cost to
It's
the
on
county.
top.
Right, how could we do it? We couldn't do it. We need to make the change.
Absolutely.
So hopefully some people in Congress are listening, and they will look at this and think, what a huge cost this is to somebody who we do really well to provide our employees with very good health insurance. And it's paid off. You can see it's positive. There's been no increases. Everybody seems stable. And we want to continue to do that, but at this cost, we would never be able to.
Well, you know, it's funny about this excise tax. There's two groups of employers that are going to pay it. Government and some union plans. Everybody else won't pay it because they've got their plans that don't show that this is an over benefit, you know. The whole idea, I guess, is to bring people down, not up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Provide less benefits.
Yeah, your insurance is too good.
Put that money.
So you need to get that out to our employees. Only kidding.
NACO's fighting very hard on the Hill every day to.
NACO's fighting. All government units of government are fighting this because they're the ones that are going to pay it.
Absolutely. And government should be exempt from taxes anyway.
You know, so at any rate, but there was just another way of how we going to pay for it. That's an issue they'll continue to talk about more. Or they'll start implementing everything and then people really do that.
That's when it all blows up.
You know, so, okay, any other questions? Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for
Resolution.
Yeah, we need two motions for the rates and for the
It's on,
renewal.
okay, so I need a motion to.
Second.
Renewal, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then I need a motion on the rate.
I'll move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, so we're continuing. Okay,
I'm not going anywhere.
Participation by countywide elected officials in the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Well, I don't like this at all. I'm putting this on our board. I don't like the fact that I run a trip to put this on our board, but go ahead.
Well, so in March, IMRF board passed a resolution adopting a new rule that requires governing bodies of municipalities or, it doesn't really say, all the resolution that says it's municipalities, to adopt a resolution every 2 years certifying that their elected officials meet the IMRF requirement for hours to participate. So many years ago, probably 30-some years ago, this board passed a resolution allowing elected officials to voluntarily participate in IMRF. Back then, there was an ECHO plan, which was elected county official. Then they revised that to a revised ECHO. They froze that plan, regular IMRF. So our county-wides are able to participate in it, and some do. They may all do. But now with this new rule, it requires the governing body to pass a resolution every 2 years recertifying those hours. Well, when I saw that, I'm like, well, that doesn't apply to us. This board doesn't have the authority to set hours for county lights. So then about a month and a half later, I got a call from DuPage County saying, what are you guys doing about this? And I said, well, nothing, because we don't think it applies. And they said, well, they talked to their state's attorney and they have issues, and so that's when I triggered and I called Mary. And we talked about it. Mary basically said the same thing. It doesn't apply. But we called IRF's general counsel, Kathy O'Brien, and she kind of, was wishy-washy. Well, you did pass a resolution back then, so what makes you think you're not able to do it now? And this is just for the purposes of this. It's not them, managing or having control over the county lines. And if it's not done by September 1st, then we administratively drop them out of participation forever for that office. So that's why we brought this resolution forward. It's really up to the board for discussion on how to move forward with this. And if Mary has any comments, I'd welcome that too.
Sure, I mean, I would point out the fact that you're, basically what you're doing is just certifying that the position requires, and in this case, all of our electeds right now are under the 600-hour rule, because they're grandfathered in from before the time when you changed the requirement to 1,000. So you're certifying that the position requires 600 hours of service. And based upon the salaries they receive, I think it would be pretty hard pressed to say they aren't putting in 600 hours.
I think we have one elected
Or
official.
you can look at it the other way. They only have to work 600 hours to get this benefit and the salary. But, so that's my problem.
Well,
That's
they
my
were
problem with
eligible
this.
back in 1987.
Pardon?
I said they were, the county board that was in office in 1987 is the one that made the elected officials eligible for it. So the only thing, IMRF is not asking you to say, are the elected officials eligible for IMRF? They are only asking you to say, does the position require at least 600 hours? That's the question before.
And I think it can very well be interpreted, they're only required to work 600 hours. But I'm just telling you from my different perspective. And we, the board, we do not have the authority to tell them, you'll work 2,080 hours, this is a full-time job.
You do not, and I had the discussion with Kathy O'Brien, and her position was, well, you set the salaries for most of those elected officials, so you do exercise some control, and she's parodying the language in the statute, which makes that finding that because the paychecks are issued by county, I'll agree, I think it's a legal fiction, but you exercise control.
So we can stop paychecks?
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand, and I had that same issue with her. We had that discussion.
So, Bruce, if you can just once again repeat, what would happen? You said September 1st, that has to be voted on. And I think I'm right in hearing you said if we don't, it goes away.
If you don't pass the resolution before September 1st, IMRF administratively cancels the elected officials' participation in IMRF forever.
You know, I don't quite understand this. Let me ask another question, which I already know the answer, because we went through this with the county board members. But those elected officials that currently are eligible to take the IMRF pension could then take it and stay in office.
Yeah, that's apparently that's what could happen.
So they'd be able to collect effective immediately.
Because they're no
while
longer in
continuing to
IMRF.
serve.
If eligible.
As
If eligible.
If they're eligible.
And the reason I'm mentioning that, and it doesn't apply across the board for all elected officials here. But many of them would not be harmed. Current ones would not really be harmed because they would be eligible for the pension. They may not be eligible to take it right now because of age maybe or something, but they would be, their pensions, they continue to be eligible for.
Right,
They can go buy time, they
doesn't
can,
go away.
let me ask you this, if they're eligible to go back and buy time, can they do that?
While they're still an active participant, they can't in the future, once they're no longer.
So I guess what I'm pointing out is that it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Because, you know, really, I don't want to cause anybody any harm. I don't want to cause any of our elected people any harm. I'm not as concerned about the future, because it is what it is. You know, if you don't have to run for office. So you know what the compensation is. But I do have concern about our current elected officials.
Well, and another thing, Jim,
And
is we don't-
damaging them. So, I mean, I don't know how else for me to state it. Outside, I still have this problem with going out and telling the public, yeah, they only have to work 600 hours. And I confirm that. to get the pension. I'll go up shortly, Steve. So, I mean, so it's really difficult for me personally. I don't want to hurt anybody, but on the other hand, I don't want to say you only have to work 600 hours to get this benefit. So, Chuck, I'll say
But we could move it up to 1,000 hours.
Well, it is 1,000 hours now.
But they're all
These people are
grandfathered in.
grandfathered in because they were here before this board increased the hours. So
Future would be
it would be
about-
future that we're not counting employees when we were
Okay,
$600.
so since this new piece of legislation passed, they should have been already tracking all their information. Because when this was passed and those on the board that were taken, IMRF had to turn in a monthly sheet on their hours.
Well, that was different. That was a legislative action.
So state statute.
Right.
Okay.
This is an IMRF rule, which I also have a problem with.
So what's going on here? So how can the IMRF make this kind of rule? What provides them that authority?
The statute.
The statute allows them to pass certain rules to administer the program. There's a very general language in the statute with regard to the rulemaking power. That is what their legal counsel is relying on.
Do you think it's a solid position on their part, Mary?
Well, I think there's certainly an argument to be made that the state legislature found it necessary to pass legislation when they were dealing with county boards. And the fact that the state legislature passed it addressing county boards, and that language is absent for all other active members of the pension, would argue that, no, they don't have the authority. Because once the legislature acts and they start specifically naming, the presumption is
They have
others
the
are
rights,
not
the other group
included. But it's, you know, I have no case law to rely on, I have no court opinion. So how it would all shake out in a legal challenge, I don't know. You still have the issue of, you know, the constitutionality of impairing an officer's pension, which is still a problem.
Well, and by the way, this is something that we would have to do every 2 years.
Yes.
This is not something just one time.
One time.
I mean, so every time, you know, I think it's a problem.
I don't think we have the
Going
authority.
forward. So, Mike?
Yeah, we got a couple of points. I mean, one, we did this for the county board. I don't see what's different about elected officials. I understand your point about not hurting individuals, but then every 2 years, that's always going to be the argument. We don't want to hurt current individuals. It never looks to the future. We have to look to the future. I mean, I'm going to state my belief, like I always have, like I said when I first got on the board. I don't believe elected officials should get a pension. Pensions are for people that are getting into a career. Being elected to public service is not supposed to be a career. You serve your community, go back to your job. If you're making this a job, I think that's wrong. And that's why I don't think anybody that's elected should have a pension. I don't care what, we can go all the way up to the feds. But, be that as it may, go back to your job. Saying that we're going to give a pension to somebody that has to do a minimum of 1,000 hours, we have no control, like I said. Well, but 1,000 in this for future.
600,000 for
1,000 for future people. I mean, we're basically saying, okay, you're gonna get a full-time salary, but you only have to work part-time. And, I mean, we know that, you know, there are different jobs here that have different requirements as far as what you have to spend there. I mean, maybe that has to be looked at down the line salary-wise, but that's not the issue here. The issue here is about pensions. I can't vote, number one, I don't believe in voting for a pension for an elected official, but I certainly can't vote for somebody that's working part-time or is only required to work part-time to get a pension based on a full-time salary.
If I could just address the part-time
Yeah.
argument, some of these statutorily are 24/7 jobs. State's attorney is prohibited from having another job. The sheriff is certainly a 24/7 job. So I don't think this is necessarily the same as a legislative position, which quite often is part-time, depending on how much time the individual elected official chooses to put in. Many of them put in much more than part-time.
Yeah, but I also don't believe someone has to serve for 20 or 30 years.
Let me
either.
point something out. You can selectively go through these. If and I agree with you, Mary, state's attorney is gonna work full-time, you know. You would think the sheriff would be full-time, but just because he's 24/7 doesn't mean he's on the job 24/7. So I will say that you could include certain offices and exclude others. You don't have to include everybody. If you felt, I'm just pointing that out, there's alternatives to this. I mean, I agree, and part of the problem, and the argument's been made in the past, why are all these salaries the same? Certainly the responsibilities aren't the same, the budgets aren't the same, and I agree with that. And quite frankly, I don't think all our county-wide officials are working full-time. You know, they could be out doing things, they could be out, you know, they're either not here, or they're out politicking, or whatever they're doing. You know, you can say it's all on behalf of the county, but not really. So I think there's a number of our countywides who are not here full-time. So, and I do think there's others that are here full-time.
But you're right. Some people may work at full-time. You may be looking at the
But
individual.
they're not required. The point is that they're not required to do it. That's the
The
point.
next guy may not do the same thing that the last
So
guy.
they're not required to do it. I agree. They are not required to do it. They're only required to work 600 hours, and that's the problem. If IRF wants to shore it up, then say elected officials have to work 2,000 hours to participate. They didn't give us that option. That's part of, I think, the problem. If we would have had other requirements by MRF for countywide elected officials, then we could address it, but it's the same for everyone.
History question, real quick. Just when the county board passed IMRF participation, it was for all the folks at one time. So county board and countywide elected? Or was one group already having it and the other group didn't? How did that play out?
There was, for the elected officials, there was a resolution.
Yeah. 1987. But we started participating in IMRF about 1946. So elected officials didn't participate for 40 years.
All the elected officials?
No, the elected officials, you know, because we started IMRF in
My point,
1948.
they all went in, they all came in together, they all went out?
When did we?
48, 49.
So we're 48, 49, but elected officials weren't put on for another 45 years. So you can say elected officials couldn't participate for a longer period of time than they could participate. So this isn't unprecedented. I mean, so like I say, I'm personally torn. If everybody was kept whole currently, I would say no more pensions going forward. I do have a
Can I just add, there's two ways of looking at this. We can look at the glass half full or half empty, and I think we're looking at a lot of time with it being half empty, even though I have a lot of respect for our chairman of our finance committee, Mr. Frizzalone. I have to respectfully disagree. I don't feel that elected official should be denied a pension. I don't think there's anything wrong with politics as a career. It may not be my choice, but I would love to stay here the rest of my life. You all become my family and do this the rest of my life and feel I do deserve a pension at the end of the day. However, I think we're looking at two issues here. The current, those that are grandfathered in, we're not saying that they only work part-time. We're saying that the 600 hours is the minimum mandatory. Is that right? And that the resolution has to pass, but I don't think that's a bad thing, and nor do I think that our elected countywide officials right now, I don't believe any of them work half that. I mean, less than that.
Well, not less than 600.
Not less than 600.
That's pretty hard. I think some are right on that cusp of 600 hours.
I think
well, let me also say one other thing. I agree with all the comments. This is going forward to the county board, regardless of the committee's support or non-support. I mean, I need to make it clear that this has to go to the county board for a vote. So it will go for a vote, and in which case everybody, the entire board will have their say. So I want to make that clear, that it's going to go forward. Denise?
Just curious, and Mary, you probably know the answer to this. I'm just guessing, in the way that we've advertised these positions before the county-wides, was the pension a part of the package, a part of the job description? Because that makes me wonder how we could just smash that out midstream.
We don't have a job description. People run for office based on the duties that are set forth in the state.
But this is not a part of the benefits associated with that position.
Well, I mean, people.
Do we already have that listed, published as part of
Not
benefits?
published.
That's what my question.
I suppose if at any time they look to see what benefits, the answer, if they inquire, would be they get these benefits. I don't know that it's specifically advertised.
But Denise?
Well, maybe not advertised, but it's published as.
It would be public
Yeah,
record.
that's what you know where I'm going with this. Yeah, okay.
And they're required under FOIA to post anyone whose compensation package is over $75,000. You're required to post that entire compensation package on the web.
Okay.
That's
And
right.
so then a person who's already sitting, the change midterm, I would think would create some serious issues. Now, it'd be very
Well,
sensitive.
I don't think
There
so.
are issues of changing their compensation package during the term of office.
But is it listed as part of our compensation package? Now, let me say that. And if you say yes, then go convince IMR for that. But Denise, to get to your point, you're absolutely correct. When we discuss the board, when we discuss compensation for the countywide elected officials, it is a significant part of our conversation. You know, of why we have perhaps not increased the salaries based on the pension benefits, based on insurance benefits and so forth. So even though I don't think it's something that's statutorily or say they're guaranteed it, it's certainly something that we considered as a board when we set the compensation. Yes. So, Tom?
I think this should be placed on
You're on.
our legislative agenda with the state to require these officials to have 40 hours of work. If we're going to be paying off these pensions anyways, I think that should be a requirement for the position.
Unfortunately, Tom, we have to do this by September 1st. It's not that we can't.
Well, we got to do it every 2 years, so start working on that.
It's not something that maybe we can get changed on, change another rule. If they like to change rules, then I will have to change the rule and say they have to work 2,000 hours. Okay, is any other comments?
Just one more comment. I think that
Well,
to make
wait,
us,
let me do
you got
Darren.
it.
Let me do Darren first.
Oh, let it go off? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay. There, it went off again. There we go.
So I wanted to kind of go back to Denise's statement regarding public knowledge with your acknowledgement about, one of the things that what is public knowledge? I don't believe that the public believes, in general, that when they elect, and I don't want a county official, that county official's only working, by my calculations, if it was minimum, 11 and a half hours a week on their behalf. And what I'm saying is that if you take 600 hours and divide it by 52 weeks, you're talking about working 11 and a half hours a week. I don't believe that the general public would be comfortable with us approving a full-time pension for an employee or an elected official that's working 11 and a half hours a week. That's my concern about this whole thing. You say, well, the general public, when they run for this position, knows that there's a salary plus a pension. Well, I believe that when they're sitting in that poll station and they're punching that ballot for someone, they're believing that Mr. or Mrs. elected official is working a full-time job for them on their behalf.
And so I really think that I'm uncomfortable with the fact of saying that we're going to give full-time pensions to individuals that only are required to work 11 and a half hours a week. You know, that's kind of my general position about it. And so I guess I just throw it out there that that's just my thought on it. Now, I understand there might be exceptions when you start talking about the state's attorney, you start talking about the sheriff. I completely get that. So unless we're able to rewrite the resolution and define what full-time work is in order to be eligible for that pension.
The problem is we can rewrite it, but
IMRF won't approve it.
IMRF sets the qualifiers for qualified, so that's part of the problem. Really, Chuck.
Two things. One, I think we have to be careful in passing any kind of legislation or policy that's related to an individual that's currently in office. That's not how a legislature should pass policy. Policy should be passed on the merits of what the appropriateness is of that policy. So the second point of that is, and Mary brought this up, that by statute, a couple of our folks are unable to work other jobs. But we know that there are a number of elected officials countywide that have multiple jobs. This is not their primary or their only job. And so I think we might need to have a little discussion on breaking this out if we're going to do this, because we can't control IMRF right now. And we can't pass it, we can't get anything done at the state level right now. So I think maybe talking about the position, not the people that are in the position, but the characteristics of the position and what ones we would put forward on IMRF, and are any of those ones that should not be on IMRF. And then I agree with Tom, we could then put this into the legislative committee and have the legislative committee take a look at what kind of action we might want to address in Springfield to shore up some of this language, because I think Mary also referred to the fact that the state has now opened up a Pandora's box a little bit by going down the road where they had general information, and now they're starting to get a lot more specific on the regulations. And as soon as they start doing that, that starts taking potential court cases down another path. And so I would suggest that we have that discussion, and whether we need to have it here, I don't know that we want to necessarily have it on the fourth floor.
Well, let me say that there's going to have, we have to take some type of action. If someone has something they want to propose and put forward, certainly we can discuss it here. But
can I ask Mary the statute then? I mean, which one of the group here do we know by statute is required full-time?
I think it's just the state's attorney.
Well, arguably, they're all required full-time. The state's attorney is specifically
Prohibited from other work.
Engaging in practicing law in any other grounds.
So everybody else could have.
Well, let me point out, though, since practicing law, it doesn't mean they can't do something else. It's just in where they can't practice law. If they ran the local deli, that's fine. If they were running, if they were running the family's trucking business, that would be fine. So it only eliminates the participating in the law. So I know, but Steve, you'll go last one, go with the committee members. I know you.
All right, I thought you were
committee members go first. Okay, I know. I should have probably told you that you could not put your hand up. Could have saved your.
I was going to sit up there but I'm not a member of the committee, so I didn't sit up there. You know,
Okay.
I guess.
So let me finish up with committee members first. Mike.
I know, again, I know it's not exactly the same thing that we did with the county board, but it is the same in the respect about are we hurting people or not. I don't really think anybody got hurt when we did it for the county board. Those that were eligible for pension took it. I'm sure some of the people that are on the board here right now took the pension. They didn't get hurt. The same would apply to the county plans. If they're eligible, if they reach the age when they're eligible, then they had time served. So you're really not hurting anybody. And again, we have to look at not the people, the positions.
Okay, Rick?
I would encourage the board not to keep considering and looking at who we're gonna hurt or who we're not gonna hurt. Just remember that we all represent the good residents of Will County. We need to make a decision based on what's best for the residents of Will County and not who we're gonna hurt in their current position.
Understood. Okay, any other committee members have comments? Steve, let me see if I can guess what you're gonna say. Well, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I had a couple.
Just keep it short.
It's going to be short. No, I agree with Mike. I didn't take the pension. I agree with Darren, with the hours. I disagree with Chuck. I think we should just look at it in a real logical way, like the people that elected us will look at it. When you elect a county-wide officer holder, they don't have to answer to anybody. And so they're not punching a time clock. They answer to the people, I'm sorry.
But people are nobody.
But the people don't know if they show up to work or not. They don't punch a time clock, so there's no enforcement of it. That's one thing. The second thing is it's not a career. You guys are talking about a career. There's an election every 4 years. So now, if you run for, let's say you run for the auditor job, you're elected for 4 years. After 4 years, you may lose. So you can't call that a career. A career is a person that goes into a job and works there as an employee and doesn't lose their job unless they screw up and get fired or quit. These guys, including myself, that's why I didn't take it. Elected officials shouldn't get a pension. But we all are temporary until we don't win our election. So it's not a career.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Is there any other comments by anyone? Go ahead, correction.
Speaking to Ray's point, just taking it from a logical perspective of is this good for Will County residents or is it not good for Will County residents? I would like to know how much does it cost us? How much does IMRF cost us for the countywide elected officials to participate?
We pay approximately, where are we up to our rate now, Bruce?
Well,
this gives a generic number.
Well, for regular IMRF,
it's a little different for SLEP. It's a little different for elected officials.
Elected officials is probably 20%.
20% for other salary for elected officials. Okay. So if they're, just to round it off, if their compensation is 100, which they're all close to 100, the $20,000 is paid by the county into their pension program, and then they pay, depending on the program they're on, 3.5% to 7.5% of their salary, 4.5% of their salary.
And just to clarify, Steve, I think you misunderstood what I was saying. Okay, because
we don't need to.
No. But the idea is we all came in together back in whatever the date it was that this was signed in '87. Everybody came in together. It was a group that went in. I don't see why, if we're making a decision that the county board is not going to be taking pensions, why everybody shouldn't leave together at the same time. And that's kind of where I'm headed with this. The only reason I was bringing up the other point was if we're going to go forward, it should be according to statute and law, not necessarily trying to help one person or another out.
Good. Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
I don't know if you can see me back here, but speaking.
I can see you. Don't answer. I can see you. Now you waved your hand. I see you there. But you can come up closer if you want me to see you better.
No. I do like the idea of looking at merit. As speaking as an auditor, it's difficult to say it's not a career, and so taking each office by merit, that's good. Taking it logically, sometimes it's not always easy to make sure that our taxpayers and our residents are getting all the logical information to make these choices, because many of you guys just have to do what's politically expedient or possible. We can see that throughout the way. But the auditor, I'm the only one, and actually probably one of only 3 people that can do a GFOA checklist. So, I've built a career to do that specifically. GFOA checklist has to be done before our GFOA CAFR is then approved for GFOA acceptance and awarded. It then goes to a specific pool of bond buyers. For me to even put that thing together takes a career worth of knowledge. Okay, so merit-based as well I agree with Chuck, is a very important piece. And if we're looking at, full compensation package, we would have to understand that, we could volunteer these positions. I think you're setting out and then asking the elected officials to then choose, is this actually a volunteer position? Because what is our salary set at? What is the full compensation set at? Do we take second careers? And what are we then put against? What are we supposed to do? But wait a minute, I'm a CPA. I have to put together this. The only reason why the CPA is not listed under the statute is because downstate doesn't have enough CPAs to run for office. It was created in 1911 when the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, made sure that auditors were in office. So the government, and the government has a very difficult time expressing logically what needs to be done, and I agree with you guys. Most of your points about tax structure and our tax policy are very difficult for our voters to comprehend, and for you to get that news to them. The same, to get people to understand how much an elected official needs to actually work, or any elected official, county board, county-wide elected official, what exactly is that time clock that's supposed to be then punched? So looking on merits, most of these people do have operations. They work there, and most people that I've seen run for these offices base their qualifications on their career choices and the career backing and their experience in work and in education to support why they should be in those offices. So, Mr. Brooks had said, it's not actually the worst thing to have government as a career. It's not.
I think it's terrible.
Well,
it's not a debate. Steve.
But as for people to label the, I took, personal considerations that the auditor is not a career, when I'm the person that actually functions as the person who fills out a checklist that is mandatory for GFOA and for our bonds to be sold as GFOA CAFR accepted. And then we have, and if you guys budget an office that allows an elected official to then not have to work full-time, we should probably think about that. My office was cut by 40% when I first came in, and I've come in and I came in doing day-to-day work to do this.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe it does sound like a political speech, but there should be merit there.
Yeah, let me say this. Here again, I think the concern is Mr. Blackburn, whether you're here 80 hours a week, you're not required to be. It says to qualify for a pension, you'll have to be here 600 hours a year. And that's part of the dilemma. If you decided tomorrow you were going to start your CPA firm and you would just run the auditor's office from your private office, you could do that. There's nothing prevents you from doing it. And now, let me also say this. I'm concerned about who comes in these offices. Are we creating basically absentee then countywide office holders? Because now we're basically saying we're not considering it full-time, or you're not. Because there's a difference between whether you believe there should be public pensions or countywide elected officials, whether you think they qualify for a pension. So this will go to the full county board for a vote. And I don't know what else. Is there anyone else who would like to make any comments?
Thank you. Just thank you. Thank you for that time.
It's a tough thing because you're potentially affecting how people are going to serve and what the message you may be sending on the other end. We consider you part-time now. Where now we say we consider you full-time. So you have to weigh that. So, Anything else? Outside, we have to do this by September 1st. Our first opportunity will be at the county board meeting on the 17th. On the 17th. And if we don't get a resolve there, we'd have to have a special meeting before September 1st. So, all right, thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Are you gonna move it forward?
Oh, I'll entertain move it. Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so this matter will go to the full county board. Mary, if there's anything that you can help with in the meantime, like with IMRF, maybe saying we could require them to work a certain amount of hours or something, would be helpful. I'm not counting on that, but they need to give us a little help, I think. IMRF does, and we'll maybe more clarification if they can. Okay. So, okay. Now, next we have authorizing county executive to execute intent to abate real estate taxes for surface shields. Move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Support of temporary signal at South Carolina Drive and Weber Road. Move. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Authorizing contract with the Anacon Group. Moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. You know, I actually did have some questions on this that they will ask. Is anybody here from Workforce? Okay. When is your actual last day, Pat?
September 1st. So there's, I'm glad you called me up because I want to introduce Caroline Forlot, who will answer all your questions.
What a way to introduce. Well, you know, I've been asked, and it kind of came up with, for me, Edicom Group, who does the graphics and marketing and so forth. And you have a number of companies you use for this. And the question to me is how often do you go out to give other companies opportunities to participate? And or we just continue to give the same people?
This was a competitive procurement with Edicom. We had 10 bidders.
Okay.
We selected 4 finalists. Our top 2 finalists did not have the social media experience. Did not have the social media experience.
Okay.
So they were eliminated. We brought the other 3 companies in for one-on-one interviews. And this was the company. We've never used AdCom before.
Okay. I was aware of this,
Yeah.
and I know some things are done competitively, and some may not be because they're a recommended vendor, maybe a small amount of money or whatever. So, is there a threshold for when generally the workforce will say anything over a $5,000 contract, whatever? I'm just throwing out a number. That you go to competitive bid, or do you just certify vendors you're going to use?
We follow your procurement rules,
Okay.
so anything over 20,000, we do a competitive procurement. Under 20,000, we do at least a request for bids, or something that gives us some cost price analysis review. Under, I think it's 5,000, we just do quotes.
Okay.
So we do follow your procurement rules.
Does that satisfy one of those questions? Okay.
Which your procurement rules are much higher than what the OMB
Yeah.
standards require. So OMB standards say that we don't have to do competitive procurement for anything under 100,000. So.
Well, that would be just about everything.
We know we would still have to bid most of our contracts.
Yeah.
This professional services stuff, we probably wouldn't have to. But yeah, we follow your rules.
Does everybody want to introduce yourself? Is everybody, I don't know if everybody you want to introduce.
Sure. Caroline Forlock. There we go. I'll bring it down to my size, right? Was the director for workforce development for Joliet Junior College, and then was recently selected to replace, or at least try to fill at least one of the shoes of Pat Farah. So, and I'm thankful that the workforce board brought me in so that I could spend some time with her before she transitions to her new work.
Thank you all.
I sat on that board for many years, but Unfortunately, I was having a hard time making some of those 7:30. So
That would be my challenge, too.
Gloria Dowdler will be replacing me out of I know you're aware of this. Gloria out there?
Yep.
You're gonna have a great board member, so with Gloria from the
And
county. So.
Thank you all for your support for the
Yeah,
workforce programs. I
Pat,
think you've allowed us to do some amazing things and really brought the county into the fold more with the workforce activities. So thank you for your support.
Thank you. Yeah, well, let me say, Pat, before you go, since I've been around for a while, I remember when workforce was just a mess. And didn't have the best reputation. I was trying to think of another word, but didn't have the best reputation. And bringing folks like you, say Sue Ann also, really turned this program to one of the most respectable, productive workforce programs in the country, not just in Illinois. So you're really to be commended. I know you're going to be around, and I'm sure you'll still be doing a little work for the county when we need you. Pat is going to do a little consulting work in her retirement years. So I look forward to working with you in the future, but you should be really commended. Sorry I'm not going to make your retirement thing on the 23rd. I know it's a Wednesday, but I got prior commitments, but I personally wanted to tell you publicly, job well done.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Did you go ahead and approve that contract?
Yeah. And by the way, Pat played an integral role in our freight study in relation to workforce and so forth. So, so she's still working with us. We'll see, get as much out of her before September 1st as we can. And welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, 7, authorizing joint funding agreement with United States Geological Survey for continued operation of rain gauges. Move. Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Authorizing contract with the Excella Legislative Management for renewal of board management system. Move. Second, all in favor?
This is not ready at this time. Yeah, this is the IQ2 system that you guys have.
Well, I haven't heard anything. I sent changes to Excella, and we were hoping we'd have their approval by now, but I have not.
If it's not ready, we can pull it off on the county board.
We'll leave it on.
Leave it on, and
Okay, just in case you do hear.
we can send it back to the executive committee if we have to. This case, got a week yet.
It was just straightening out the contract.
Yes, Judy?
I just wanted to comment that for grammatical, rain gauges is spelled wrong. Just.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Spell check.
Bring it.
Yeah, where's Okay, next we have replacement hires for the county executive and HR department.
Mr. Chairman, we have our interviews scheduled for Monday and Tuesday of next week, so this will probably get moved to the following.
Bruce, do you want me to, I can take it off.
Well,
you think you're gonna have a selection? I mean, it's not like.
We could, and I could give it to you.
Let's leave it on, and then if you don't, we'll move to next month.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Proclamations?
Yeah, we have 3. There's Representative McDermott's going to bring in a resolution from the House supporting the air traffic control over at Lewis University. I think we're going to recognize Pat Vera, but she's left, so we can't. And then there's a third one that got put on by someone. NT.
Got put on by me.
Oh yeah. Actually, I got some information on that. That's a really good cause.
Yeah.
So we'll.
You want to say what it is? Is Jeff there?
Jeff is here.
Yeah, no, there's Jeff. Well, Jeff, he came to me, and this is something that's very close to Jeff. He has children, 2 daughters that do have a I can't say what it is.
Stanhope disease.
Stanhope disease, which is, something that very debilitating and currently doesn't have treatment or cure. Jeff asked me to talk. We talk about rare diseases and they bring it to people's attention. And the other thing is that you're going to have an event, right?
Correct.
And if we should print up that brochure, we'll have it on everybody's desk. If you want to say a few words about the event and ask people to support it, give you that opportunity also. Okay.
If Jeff wants to do that, he could be the one that's doing the conversation, recognizing MTSAD. So rather than one of our board members.
Well, somebody should read the resolution.
Oh, we have it. Okay, is this a resolution?
It's
just to give the information.
Okay, so I need to clarify this.
Okay.
Resolution.
It's under proclamations, I thought, but it was just to bring it to everybody's
It's
attention.
a proclamation. No, I want it read.
Okay, so write that up and
Okay.
So maybe
We'll get
Jeff,
someone to read it.
Jeff can work with you on that
Yeah.
proclamation. And Judy, help. The
health committee.
But health,
you could read that.
Could read that.
I'm not going to be here.
We'll find someone.
Don can do it.
Vice Chair, Don will be here.
Vice Chair, and you may want to even talk to Jeff a little bit about it. Okay, so, and hopefully we can promote this event and help raise some money too. So, okay? Okay, anything else on proclamations? I also have a temporary use permit for Bell Road. Jeff, you want to tell us what that is? I mean, basically, it's the construction.
Yeah, 2 days ago, I became aware that the IDOT construction project on 159th Street contractor needs temporary access along Bell Road. So it's a routine type of thing. It just came to our attention now. And the letter just came to me 30 minutes ago, so I can have that ready to go as soon as possible.
Okay, Don, we'll put that on your agenda. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to place that on public works agenda. Move second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next we have appointments by the county executive.
Question. I have a question.
Here, we'll do a motion second.
Question.
Second.
No, go ahead. Discussion.
The stormwater appointment shouldn't be on there. He's already been appointed by the mayors. The Cotton's board doesn't appoint that.
Tom is correct. We do not appoint the appointments by the municipalities. So, Mary, should we just take it off? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to remove that appointment.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else? Yes, Mike?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question, a couple of questions on the merit commission one. I know that's a 6-year appointment, and usually when we get the appointments, there's a little resume and some background on the individual, and all it says is a P.O. box. I'm assuming he lives in Elwood, because that's where the P.O. box is at. Also, is that a paid position? Merit commission?
They get paid for their travel. It is an annual salary now based on the audit last year for, I remember they are paid the compensation now, but they were, in the past, they were just given.
The answer is they're compensated.
Yeah, they are given compensation.
And I don't know the mix of that committee. Is there a balance? I mean, we have Elwood, and are we represented by?
Mary, statutorily, is it required that people come from different regions of the county?
So I think they are appointed by the sheriff.
I don't think they're appointed by the sheriff.
They're recommended by the sheriff. They're appointed by the county board. I'm not aware of any requirement in the statute that has some geographic reason. I think most of the people that are currently on there are from law enforcement. Howard Norberg may still be. No, is Howard still on there?
This person is
He was from Iron Workers. From the Iron Workers.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, I don't know who's on there now, but there's no There's no specific requirement, Mike, for certain
You want to see
areas.
It's just with the duties that are included in there, when we're reappointing somebody for 6 years, we should know a little bit more about the person. I mean, this is a pretty heavy duty.
You want to see the current makeup of it?
Yeah, and if you could, yeah, that is.
Judy?
Yeah, what I would really like to see is, for all of the appointments that we make, for every position, could we have somewhere on here, whether it's a paid position, if it's just for gas reimbursement, is there a salary attached?
Well, it used to be, but we assigned a salary to them. We got audited and we had to change.
IRS made us change.
Oh, IRS made us change so many guidelines. Was that last year, Rashawn, or the year before?
It was last year.
Last year. So now they do get salary.
But could we know that on when we have the appointments? Could it be on the paperwork?
It's IRS. We had to
I don't know. The county executive's office, so I don't know if they have that.
We could.
You know, as far as going through all the appointments to see what's major.
I have one
It'd be
other
good to
point.
see.
We do get a nice packet from them.
Yeah. Well, you know, we should get all that together for people, because some of the others that are being reappointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, it's also compensated. I mean, people are interested to know what the compensation is. IRS made us change. I think these get per diems and mileage, but the IRS made us change that, so that's been changed. So if you want to see all that stuff, you know, the other thing I would ask, since this Merit Commission appointment is a reappointment right now.
Yes.
So they continue to serve until they're replaced, correct?
Right.
I mean.
That's true with all our appointments.
Yeah, it's true all the appointments. So if you want to get more information, and it's no reflection on the person being appointed, I guess we could wait. Or if you just want to appoint, if you want to appoint, and you want to see how these things are made up, that's fine.
Right, just want to leave it on and then we'll.
Yeah, I mean, you can leave it on. I just want to see,
Okay.
when we're appointing somebody for 6 years, it's 1 or 2 years, and they've been on it for
Yeah,
6 years.
this is pretty much, the sheriff pretty much does this. But
Just to remind board members that a number of years ago, we put all our boards and commissions online, and I'm not going to say it's 100% accurate. If you see an error, please point it out, we'll fix it. But we do list statutory references to these, and we include a contact person, and we include compensation on the county executive's website, so you can see which ones. Some there are websites too that you can go to for further information, but we also list the members. There's a couple things that I still would like to fix, and it came up with the stormwater, is how we present those is not the most user-friendly, so I'm working on fixing that, so.
Yeah, so here's the thing. As a county board member, various county board members do a certain amount of work, others don't even show up. So for me, I do a lot of work in my district for the amount of compensation that I do receive. And I don't always have time to go out and look at everything, so I would like that information included in the packet with the appointment of whatever they're getting appointed for, so I don't have to go and look in 100 different places for information. We should have that
let's do it this
information.
way. I have the information. If it does get emailed to me, we'll just make sure it gets emailed.
What I'll do is, I will do it. I can look up the statute, no.
But we've come a long way as far as we give it to you a month in advance, and we give an annual report to the board by the board's request. But now we have to also, this last year, we have to give a report to the state, which is all-inclusive report, so we provide you a copy of also.
Let me say that the county executive's office does send it to our office, to all the background, so I'll just make sure it's all that. I get it. I'll just make sure it gets sent out. So, along with the request, the county executive does send all the information. So I'll put it out of my office. It's not anything to do with the executive office. They do send it all. So, all right. So we had a motion, a second on appointments. We already took off the stormwater, so all in favor? Aye. Aye, okay. Request for states of attorney's opinions. I don't think we have anything out there, except we sure would like to get something done with IMRF. We may get full clarifications from them. I know you're trying, Mary.
I don't think we're going to get anything.
I think you're probably right. Okay, committee reports. We're going to try to move this along because we do have executive sessions. Executive session for a number of subjects we got to get through. So land use, Tom, you have anything?
We've got four resolutions, special use permit, a couple of those, and changing some conditions on one that previously we approved in the past. There was one discussion we had. We sent the thing about the development block grant rental property study. We discussed that. We didn't really take a vote on it. There was a consensus pretty much that maybe we should have a study, but we didn't have a resolution to approve it. So we also heard that the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee wanted to look at this, so we decided to send it back to the Executive Committee. If you want to sign it to that other committee to look at it further, you can do that.
Okay, I understand. Judy?
Yeah, related to that same exact subject, depending on what you decide to do. I know that Matt Guzman said he had quite a few questions, more questions than answers on that. So if we do hear that again, we need to ask that Matt is in the meeting, because he has many questions as to, is it something that we could do and things like that, so.
I think it's one of these, I agree, Matt. I think what the county's ability to do is very limited in this area. And I think a lot of what's been said is basically has nothing to do with the subject at hand. I mean, if you want to get up there and say the SA doesn't have, it's giving people home exemptions and they're renting their house, what's that have to do with inspections? This tells me maybe saying the SA is not doing her job, so he should go talk to the SA. Not to be confused with the state's attorney, supervisor of assessment. So, I guess we have two SAs. I was thinking about that. Well, SAO, okay. Okay. So I'll try to get it straight. So I do think there's many questions, and I think I even question taking federal HUD funds for such an endeavor. So I think what we're going to do is maybe put this a little bit on the back burner. We'll have discussions as we go along. I'm not going to reassign it back to the, I shouldn't say I don't think we should reassign it back to land use. Obviously, it was something they would rather move. I'm not so sure at this time if it's something that should really go to the economic development. I know there's a slight connection there, but certainly I think it's very limited on our ability in these areas, including giving landlords money and
too many liability questions. Liability.
Yeah. What's
How are you gonna? You don't want to put the county in the position.
Well, the thing is how are you going to administer this? Is it random? You say it's voluntary. Voluntary by who? So I think there's just too many questions out there. Anything that you can shed light on would be helpful as far as what are the limits of a county and the county board. So until we hear back from you, and that's not an opinion, by the way. So it's not like so I'm going to ask you every month. Okay, so if we bring it back out here, you can just give us the information. Okay, any questions for Tom, finance?
Just designating a couple banks as county depositories, we're transferring some funds, and we're appropriating some grants.
Okay. Any questions for Mike? Don, anything you want to mention?
Most of these are awards for home improvements and
Road improvements.
So you're diverting funds, Don?
Your home. We're talking about your home.
Is it your home?
All right, on that note.
And then the one you added on today, so.
Okay. Any questions for Don?
Add the language to that contribution.
To make sure it's in the specific fund?
It's restricted cash, it's in a project code.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Official?
I have nothing before the board this month, unless they ended up attaching the JAG grant,
Is that get attached to this agenda?
we need to leave a space for it?
We really just need to talk about it. We received, I sent it over to the board office, the 2017, JAG, which has come through historically through the Judicial Committee. Last several years, we've used it for opioid-related efforts. I would think that would be our recommendation, but the committee has always weighed in on whether they support those allocations. The application is due prior to the full board in September, but we could hear this do a public hearing and hear all this at the Judicial Committee in September. And historically, the board's policy, which I don't believe has changed, is when there's deadlines, we apply for grants, get it in on time, and we ratify. So we can do a resolution in September that says we're doing a MOU with Joliet to split the money, and you're authorizing the application, things like that. But we need to get this done before September, and there really wasn't time to do it this month because it just came online. So,
all right. So we'll do it in September. You move forward with the application,
and we can have informal if people have other ideas, but. The thought was to continue the hear on opiate education programs and/or our related efforts. So,
okay, all right. So we'll just move that along and we'll go next one. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Public health and safety, Judy.
So I don't really have anything except for a report that might be placed on file. I think so, and I'll ask Don to present for me because I will not be attending.
Okay. Any questions, legislative?
No, there's nothing for the agenda.
Okay. Any questions on legislative? Capital improvements?
Capital improvements, we have two. One, authorizing the executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Frankfurt regarding the use of the radio communications tower and awarding contract for the asbestos abatement on the former First Westfield. The third item, we got the survey back. It's not going to be done in time, so we're going to move the intergovernmental agreement with Joliet to September and try it again.
Okay, so any questions from Mr. Tunal? Executive, any questions for me? We just went over the executive agenda, so is there any other questions on that? Okay. We are going to need for executive session for negotiations, for land purchase and litigation. So there's three different subjects. So before we go into executive session, I'll ask now, is there any public comments? Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, it's just a comment that land use, when we were at that, I'm on that committee, and was brought up about the assessor not doing her job and all that, finding homes that are cheating on getting homeowners exemption. It was also mentioned that land use has the money in their budget, $25,000, to fund that study themselves. And my point is that maybe we need Mike's committee, Mike, I'm on that also, finance, to look at how much money we're giving them. Because if they have $25,000 to go after a study that just comes out of the blue, we're giving them too much money. So we probably need to look at cutting their budget.
Steve, that might be CDBG, and that, I think you're covering.
Well,
no, he said in the land use budget.
Let me say that it's a budgetary process, and if you want to make your comments, make it to those budget people.
I just made it. I just wanted everyone to be aware.
Mary?
And I just want to clarify, based on his reference with regard to the general homestead exemption, there was a statutory change that allows rental properties to receive the general homestead exemption if the lease provides that the lessee will be paying the taxes. So there is no mismanagement.
That was a comment by Ron Pullman.
Well,
for a reason.
If it was put on the public record, I just want to put on the public record.
Tom, is that what Mr. Pullman said?
I don't know his exact words, but it was mentioned.
Okay, so I'm just saying, that's not coming from me, I'm just saying.
No, I understand that, I heard it said by Steve just now, and I wanted to make sure that it was not misunderstood.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Ron Pullman didn't say that. He said the opposite.
I'm just saying what was said at that meeting by people who are trying to promote this.
Okay.
And everyone obviously misspoke. That's my point. Keep throwing things out there that are not really factual.
Well, if that's what he was saying, yes.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
So I'll, when we come out of executive session, we will set the county board agenda. I want to do this first. So, okay, for executive session. Second. Roll.
Mayor?
Yes.
Benfield?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Prismark?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Parker?
Yep.
Yes. Berry? Yes. Ryman?
Yes. Okay, Susan, you have any